I want to welcome all of you and thank you so much for coming. I know each one of you asked in different times, like, how do you feel or whatever. And since October 7th, like it was like everything changed. When Israel was attacked by this terrorist, Hamas terrorists, and they didn't distinguish between children, women, men, Israelis, not Israelis. It's like everything. I couldn't understand. I felt like something was in me changed. I was itching to go to my country because I was worried. For days, I said, Jeffrey, what's going to happen? What's happening to the country? How are we going to survive this thing? And months later, on November 7, I flew to Israel. And what prompted me to come, to fly, is I'm involved with JVC, which I will tell you later about it. And they're flying, 48 hours flying. So I said, okay, this is an excuse to go. I'm allowed to go. But I went a week before to see what's happening. I need to see my friends, my family. Thank God my family is fine. They live around Tel Aviv, even though fine is comparative, because there are missiles. So every time when they hear a missile, they go to the shelter. And we have a nephew, and he has a year-and-a-half baby, the same age as our granddaughter. And his wife was scared because she had to, all the time, she had to run. The baby had to sleep with her all the time. She didn't know what to do. Then they heard that there are terrorists in the streets. She was afraid to go to the street. I talked to her mother-in-law, and Ronit, my sister-in-law, and she said, I knocked on the door. She didn't want to open the door. She didn't know who it was. I said, come on, I won't come up. They're just, the beginning, it was really, really scary. So I'm going to talk through some pictures because I believe that pictures say a lot more than words. I took a plane. I landed at 6:30 in the morning. And this is what you see when you go down to get your passport checked. First of all, the airport is empty. The only planes that fly are El Al. And even if that, not so many are flying. And you see the pictures of all the hostages. 240 people, hostages, were taken. Then driving to my mother's home in Tel Aviv, not so much traffic, and you see the flags, Israeli flags. Now it says Mu'chadim ad hanitzachon, together till victory, and again the flag, and then it says men, women, babies, old people, all hostages, and the pictures of the hostages. So, but when I see an Israeli flag, to me it's Independence Day, it's celebration, because that's in Israel. Whenever there is, every Independence Day, Yom Ha'atzmaut, that's when everybody put their flags out. Now they put the flag as a sign of unity. Like we're all together in this, we're all in it together, and there are flags everywhere. So the first thing I did when I landed, after I said hi to my brother, is to go to the Hamal Diskiot. So Hamal, and I'm going to use this word a few times, it's war room. And Diskiot is this dog tag. And this dog tag says, bring them home now. Usually when you go to the army, you get a dog tag with your number. And it's like an ID number. And this was a sign, they use this as a symbol for the hostages. There is no name, so just bring them home now. And that's something that you read everywhere. And they're raising money through that to give to the hostage families, because these families don't, they don't work. They're just sitting and they're trying to talking to anybody they can. They even come here to get their awareness of the people that were taken hostage. So this is the Hamal. This is a small part, but it's a big room, and women sit there and they put them in packages, and 10 in a package, and you can go online and order them, and the money goes to them. Okay, so then after walking there, I met I'm sorry, I just want to. So, just to talk to you about some numbers, there are around 240 hostages were taken by Hamas, and of course the number changed from the beginning because some that were considered hostages, they found their bodies. That's you heard this story. Now, since the beginning, I think 87 Israelis were released, plus foreigners, but this Hamas still has 137 hostages, among them also. So the next day I met with this guy, Ofer, and he used to be involved with the people who did the demonstrations. But he shifted, it changed, and now all he does, and not only him, all the other people, and you heard of Achim Laneshek, Brothers in Arms, these are the people who used to demonstrate every Saturday against the government. Now they all got together and they created their war rooms for different things, and I went to visit them. So it took me, we went to this place called Givat Chaviva, which is in regular days, it's a social community, and they do projects for Arabs and Israelis, and they have dormitory. Now there are no students now. There are no students after October 7, and so they offered these houses to people who were evacuated from this instead from Ashkelon. They came there because some people didn't have a safe room, so they needed to get away with their children. Now, just to give you an idea, this is the room. They get a small room with bunk beds, and this is supposed to be for a family of 6 people, two parents and 4 children. And now there is no kitchen, there is no washing machines, so they got some donations, and they got washing machines for them. There is a big dining room, so that's where they go and eat, and they got them clothes, because when you leave the house quickly, you come with nothing. You have and we're gonna see it later what other projects that have worked for them. They created a kindergarten for the kids because you need to keep them busy. And the signs are everywhere. We are bringing them home now. Now we went to another place called Binyamina, and Randy's parents come from there. And on the train it says "B'yachad nenatzeach," together we will win. I mean, you see this unity everywhere. Everybody wants to be together. All of the arguments are not there. At least they were not there the first months. And in this war room, they sit there and they talk to families that didn't want to go to one of the hotels or like Givat Chaviva, and they ask them, of course, your name, telephone, what do you need, how many kids, do you have a dog, you don't have a dog, and they try to find for them a housing that will fit their needs, and they're also trying to find them host families. So how long? Then they talk to the host families. How long would you host the people? There are so many layers that we don't realize when somebody is a refugee in their own country. What do you do? And then I went to visit the Hamal Achim Laneshek, as I mentioned. They called the Brothers in Arms. And when they started, after October 7, they used a hangar that usually they would have industrial shows there, right outside of Tel Aviv. And it was the size of maybe 2 football fields, and they would put clothes, they collected clothes, diapers. The list that we got the beginning, Israel needs it. But if Israelis gave them, and big companies in Israel, and they kept all of them, and somebody needed something, also stuff for the army, they will send it to them. People will come and get what they need. Then after a month, they didn't need as much, because already people knew what they needed. They got the beginning, and so they moved their headquarters to one of the high-tech companies, gave them like a whole floor, And there it was organized because each room was a different area. One room was dealt only with the hostage families. So if some family needed like AirPods for the kids, somebody would go and buy and bring it to them. Then another room was for to bring something for if the army needed some equipment or one of the units that helps that guard the areas would need something, they will try to get for them. Another room was for like talk to the tax department in the airport to try to release the stuff that we're getting to Israel as fast as we can. Like we all heard about they need helmets, they need those vests. They were dealing with the tax people to tell them to get them faster. I mean, we realized these are civilians who, what they did, they dropped everything and they enlisted themselves in the civilian army, that's how I would call it. The government usually is supposed to do it, but the government couldn't handle all of it. So that was one of the things that I think touched me, is that everybody really is together. As they said in Natseach, we'll win together. Everybody got together. Everybody jumped onto the wagon. And this is one of the rooms, and this is the name, Brothers in Arm, Hamal Ezrachi, a civilian war room. Then at night later I went to visit so in Tel Aviv, everybody heard of the Tel Aviv Museum. There was a beautiful square in front of the museum, and they renamed it Hostage Square. Now why, you will ask, why in front of the museum? Why in that square? It's a big space. In front of it, across the street is the army headquarters, Akiriyah. That's where Netanyahu, Gantz, Galant meet, and they strategize. The head of the army, they all strategize together there. The hostage family want to make sure that everybody knows, everybody remembers them all the time. Now, many different artists created different installations. So this is, and it keeps going and it's moving. A friend of mine sent me a new installations from yesterday, I'll show you later, that connects to Hanukkah. So these are all mirrors, and as it is, the picture at the bottom is a sculpture by Menashe Kalishman, and he created it's very similar to this. This is what he did in Berlin, in the museum. It's all in a huge hall, going down the big hall, and he has like thousands of these. So as it happened, it's there too, but the artist put all these the name of all the hostages on these mirrors. Again, flags, Machzerim et Omer Abaita, bring Omer home, he's still not home. And then the family sits there, and you come and you visit them, and you sit with them. It's like, I hate to say it, it's like going to a shiva call. And you give them hugs, and you pray that their kids will come back. Now, this is another installation, and all of them has names of their children. Of course, here you see the baby that we all think about him all the time. Now, the table that we saw in Union Square and other places in the country, was the original table. The first one that's created was in that square. And it changes, like the yellow ribbons, they added it. It wasn't at the beginning, they added it later. Babies. This is another installation. And now the candles that you see at the bottom, I don't have to explain. And it says museum. And now it says, Ad shekulam kan, kulanu adayin sham. Till they're here, we are all there. We are still there. It's like we're all together. We are all waiting for them to come and sit together at the Shabbat table. Now some of the families, not all of them, sleep in these tents in the square. They said that some of them said that we can't go home. We can't see ourselves going home and sleep in our own bed when our kids are not home with us. And it says Yosef Chaim Ochana, מחכים לך בבית. Yosef, we're waiting for you at home. And here is another. It says, וישובו בשלום, and they will come back in peace. And it's like the flag of Israel. כל ישראל ערבים זה לזה. The bottom, it says, every person is watching for each other. And of course, the top, and this is like a scale. It says, הזמן אוזל שחרור מיידי. The time is running out. Freedom right away. Now remember, this was like more than a month ago. And if I would talk to you, if I was there yesterday, I would still see the same thing and it will still be the same. I will say the same words. Now these women, they're called the checkpoint women. They used to go to where the checkpoint where the Palestinians will come into Israel and make sure that they were not going to abuse them. And that's why they were called the checkpoint women. Now they don't do it. They're just there and standing with the signs to free the hostages. And these yellow chairs are, 243 chairs. This is change of design. So you see a little bit on the left, it's part of the Kiryat. That's like where the helicopter will land. This was because of all the abuse that they abused women. Okay, so then, that was that. In the afternoon, I heard that there is a woman who was cooking glad kosher meals for soldiers in Gaza and for some of the refugees in the hotels. So I grabbed my friend, and she was cooking from her own home. It was her own initiative. She decided to do it. And we went and we helped her. We are cutting for chulent, and we prepared everything, small packages, so each soldiers, and that was like at 9 o'clock at night, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody was going to come and bring it to Gaza. Now, they do it less now, because they found that with the time of travel, it's not so food safe. So even like they used to be, there was a restaurant called Achim, the brothers, and they closed the restaurant and they just prepared food for the soldiers at the beginning, and now they reopened the restaurant and they don't do it as much. See, at the beginning it was a lot of chaos and everybody was doing a lot of things. Now everything comparably calmed down, but the needs are there, but the army is doing it all. So but that was very touching to be there, and this woman had kids were running all around. She came from France a few years ago, and she was cooking. It was so amazing to see. And Friday morning, I went. This is where the Philharmonic, the Israel Philharmonic plays, and it's called Kikar Abima. Abima is one of the National Theater. So the theaters are not open, and all the actors and they all travel all over, the singers travel all over the country to army bases and to refugee hotels to entertain them and to elevate their mood. Now what you see on top is mannequins. And what we see under, it's an installation of empty beds. And it's 240 beds. Baby's bed, grown-up beds, or elderly beds. And I thought it was very, very strong, this installation. And if you see, it's right, usually, it's right next to this amazing garden that is always, kids hang around there. That's what you do. And it's called the empty beds. And this is under it. This is like for each kid from the festival that was killed. There is a note about him, and each kid, or no matter what age that he was killed, there is a sign. Now, there is also. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to read you something because I thought I will have the. What comes behind the installation is that really our day is really, the bed is our home, the bed is like our home, And we end the day with there, and we started the day there. And with what's happening now, we don't have a home, and this is like this is gonna stay here till we get our home back. And he created it with another woman, and it's called Empty Beds. Now, after that, now there is another initiative of yellow flowers, and they buy it from the farmers, which helps the farmers, and they sell it to people everywhere, and the money goes again to the farmers and to the hostage families. And the yellow flower is a sunflower, is a sign for this horrific thing. So this was Friday afternoon, and I went there for Kabbalat Shabbat. And the chief cantor from the army came and sang. It was beautiful. And again, people there, the families came and holding the pictures of the dear ones. So that was it happens every Friday. Every Friday there is a Kabbalat Shabbat, and sometimes it's sponsored by a different organization, or I would say company. On Sunday, Wendy joined me, because Wendy heard about, it's so funny because I met Wendy buying challah at Gold's. And she said, I want to go to Israel. I said, Wendy, I'm leaving on Tuesday. I'm going to JDC. So Wendy jumped on it and said, okay, I'm coming. And she joined me. So Sunday morning, we drove to Jerusalem. And we went to see the Hamal Yerushalmi, which is it's different than the Tel Aviv. It's not as big. And it's housed in this beautiful building that was Bezalel Architecture School. But we went there, part of the Hamal, the first thing we did is we went to, it's a cultural center where the Nisan Nativ, which is a acting school in Jerusalem, stays. But they took one empty space and they called Otef Salon Gadim. Otef is, if you hear Otef Aza, it's something that it's surrounded, that's the area where everything what happened. And they made like a little store, for second-hand store for people who live in Gaza area. They can come, take as much as you want, feel like you're home when you're in Jerusalem. Now remember, they all came from the south. The south, it's warm. Jerusalem gets cold. You need different clothes when you live in Jerusalem, especially in November. And he said, Am echad belev echad, one nation, one heart. And this is how it looks. They're all very organized. And people come, pick whatever they want, and then there is even an area that volunteers sit with children to entertain them while their parents are shopping. And there are different shoes. Just people donated all of these clothes, and they just come and take them. Now upstairs where the theater is, they converted it into like a warehouse. And families put a list of what they need, whether they need diapers or soap. And they package for them, and then they come and they pick it up. And this is the building from the outside. And this is the inside. Now, we went out, and everywhere you see pictures of the hostages. And we saw the pictures, we have them in here too. This is like the group from the joint, with Wendy, myself. So then, at night, that was Sunday. Sunday night, we joined the group. And the first thing that we did, we had the first dinner, we were joined by two hostage families. Both of them, their kids were kidnapped from the festival. One is Romi Gonen, she's still missing. I actually heard that her grandmother is now going, every night of Hanukkah, she's going to another, to Galant, to Gans, to somebody that will hear her and say, please bring my granddaughter. How can she be 66 days in captivity? And that was one. And then the other one is a 35-year-old Ariel, his wife, Ariel Baruch. His wife, they live in Jerusalem. They have a 5-year-old. He went to the festival And he called his wife and he said, I'm in Miflasim, which is like 2 kilometers from Sderot, and I'll be home early because of the red alert. I don't want to be with the missiles. She didn't hear from him. The next time when she tried to call him, an Arab answered the phone and said, Allah Akbar. So she realized that he was kidnapped. And he's still there. So it was very moving evening to start the 48 hours. It was really, as they say, flying. It was intense, one thing after the other. We didn't have time to breathe. We hardly could talk. Luckily, Randy was with me, so we can rehash late at night of what we have seen. So we drove the next day to the Dead Sea. Now the Dead Sea, all the hotels there, each hotel is housed a different community. Like one hotel is from Kibbutz Be'eri, one hotel is Kibbutz Nir Oz, another hotel is Sderot. Now people from Sderot are divided into different places in the country. Some of them are in Netanya, in Tel Aviv, Yerushalayim, some in the hotel, but in the kibbutzim they try to keep them as an all unit together because the kibbutz they're used to living together. So they're living now in a hotel. So now what do you do with the children? You have to, at the beginning they created these small nurseries within the hotel, but it really didn't, it's not sustainable for a long term. So this was the first thing we did, is we saw this was a spa, and they converted the spa into a kindergarten for disability kids. Kids from age, I think, 6 to 8. And we actually saw them, and it was amazing. They were smiling. You could see that they were taken care of. Of course, it was a spa. Immediately they put these books. They took away all the, toys. This installation was done by Betzalel students to make it look like it's a little bit different. They created this little entry, remnant of the spa. When you go out, it says, Alev b'Sderot, anachnu b'Yam HaMelach. Our heart is in Sderot, but we are in the Dead Sea. And thank you for the hospitality. Together we will win. We came to a place that was incredible. So there are some kids that are like ages from middle school to high school. And what do you do with these kids? And they can't really, they need a place to express themselves. They created with the Ministry of Education, they created in a place called Solarium, which was really for glamping. They created a school. This is a school in 3 days. Now you ask, how can anything could happen in 3 days? What about bureaucracy? Because they worked together. JDC worked with the government, with the Ministry of Education. They were able to find the principal, the school that was in the principal in the area that the kids were from, and they put it together. And they educated and they trained the teachers in trauma to how to talk to the children, and they gave them space that they can sit around and hang around and just talk to each other and just feel safe. Now, if you see, this is the hotel. They had to go across the street. At the beginning, they didn't want to leave their rooms, so they went and they talked to them, and they showed them that it's okay. You can go across. It is safe to leave your room. You can come, and nothing will happen to you for now there. Like the other kids. I mean, look at them. They saw us. They are waving, and. One of the people in the mission, he went to a kid and he says to him, my name is David, what's your name? Do you want a hug? And the kid says yes, and he hugged him. And he felt so touched, and he kept, it's a simple act. And now, just for a reference, so this is the Gaza Strip. This is what they call the Eshkol region, which is like En HaShlosha, Nir Oz, all of these small Yishuvim, En Absor, Oad, all of these Yishuvim were hurt by the terrorists. Now, Sderot is right here, Ofakim is here, I hope you can see, So just to get an idea, I mean, from this small place, they came all the way. This is only 40 kilometers wide, and they went all the way here, all the way Ofakim to Ashkelon. We get missiles. It's mind-boggling. I thought it's important for us to see the area and where everything happened. Then another hotel, JDC created, again, with the Ministry of, how's it, Revacha?
Income.
Wealth. No, wealth.
Wealth. They give them, like the people who live, they don't know what their rights. So the lawyers talk to the families and help them pro bono to understand what are their rights, how much money they can get from Social Security, and if they want to look for a job, how they're going to look for another job, and it's all it's all for free. But some of the people don't even know how to use a computer, and there are people helping them with all of this stuff. Yeah.
One of the most amazing things was they required everybody that came to help to volunteer for 4 days at a time, so that if a person came and told their story, they didn't have to retell it over and over again. They could have that person could actually give them an answer, and they could move on and get more information. So it was very well thought out, and also they didn't want to create more of a trauma. It's a traumatic experience to begin with, to start telling your story and retelling your story over and over again. You deal with one person and they tell you what your rights are. Then you go to your health, your banking, and each person had continuity. So if you really think about it, it just brought a level of anxiety down, because you had somebody that knew who you were and you weren't just a number. So that was key.
Yeah, and it's an example how I'm gonna at the end a little bit talk about the joint, but just it's an example of the way they work, and because they over the years they work with the government, they're able to pivot quickly. And I'm going to leave each one of you, I have a page that tells you how they work in emergency, which is amazing. When you see it on the ground, you realize that they do some good stuff. And then we went to another, it was the David Hotel, but it now is called the Be'eri Hotel. And when you walk into the hotel, again, these are all the people that were kidnapped from Be'eri. The Be'eri, Kibbutz Be'eri is a big kibbutz, 1,000 families. Third of them are either kidnapped or killed. Somebody in the family, or maybe all of the family, it's like one is left. It's crazy. And it's there. So JDC created a kindergarten for the children. They call it Gan of Farim. This is for the little kids. And with books, I mean, to make them feel like this is like, that there is destruction, but at least it's something familiar to them. And each one got a backpack with their name. And the kibbutz is everything is almost, used to be, everything is the same. So all the backpacks are the same because everybody is equal to the other. And then we met with the man on the left is the chief psychologist for this area Eshkol, which I showed you, where all of the kibbutzim and these moshavim are. And he told us that he's from Kibbutz Nirim. Kibbutz Nirim, they moved all the Kibbutz Nirim people to Eilat. And he was on the way to Eilat. And he said that morning he went for a walk, he went for a run, his knee hurt him. So he went back. And then he heard that there was the red alert, that the missiles are coming. So I figured, okay, he called his wife, and she said to him, go into the headquarters right away, to the headquarters for the Eshkol area. He went there, and he was able to hear from all of the area people calling for help, and he realized nobody was coming. And he said, then he found out, friends of his killed. He lost lots of patients. And his own family story is very lucky. He said they live in a smart home. So when the terrorists came into his home, they heard the people inside saw them through the cameras. They heard them coming, and they talked to them. They said something, and the terrorists was scared and they ran away. I mean, I wish everybody would have a smart home. So, but then he said now he has to deal with everybody. He's working around the clock, and what he's holding is something that Mandy reminded me today. It's something that they used many years ago. I think the daughters used to see this cartoon, but they use it. It's called chibuki. So chibuki is a stuffed animal with long arms that they give it to children that they can express themselves. Because sometimes these kids after trauma, they can't talk. The parents don't know how to talk to their kids. So this is a tool for the parents also to talk to their kids, because the kids take not control, but they figure Hamoudi is their person. So they say, okay, Hamoudi wants to eat. I'm gonna feed Hamoudi now, or Hamoudi wants to eat something now. It's Hamoudi, or Chibuki, sorry. It's called Chibuki because I knew about Chibuk in Hebrew means hug. And that's why yours has this long, Hamoudi is sweet. So it's it's a sweet hug. And we are demonstrating how it's hugging around. I think there is even a picture. Now, I just wanted to look at the woman with the green dress, and I'm going to tell you a story in a little bit a while. And now, after we heard from the psychologists, we heard from the scouts. The people with the blue shirts are Israeli scouts. The התנועה הצעירה, זה השומר הצעיר, there are different types of, different groups of scouts, and JDC trained them in trauma, so they can talk to the children. Now the scouts, almost many people in high school, they belong to the scouts, and then they have people, younger kids, that they take care of them. It's like their units. They create programs for them. But now they have to create programs for kids with trauma. So JDC trained them how to deal with these kids and mobilize them, because remember, many of the 18 above are in the army. So you need to somehow, you're missing hands. You need hands to deal with the kids. Well, this is all of us. Let me find this Hamoudi. And then we drove to Moshav Brosh. And in Moshav Brosh, we visited a senior center that was closed after the war. They reopened it, and they bring seniors from 3 other kibbutzim to spend half a day there and have exercise and have lunch, so they're not alone. Because one of the big problems with the elders is that they're alone, they're depressed, it's hard. It's hard to understand what happened to their people, and some of them, their people who took the caregivers are not there, they left. And so JDC not only trains find them a place, they also trains the caregivers. So it's like they're dealing with all of the levels of all of the people. And as you can see, the woman the exercise person, she's like full of energy. She was so happy, she was so excited. And we all joined the exercise too. So then after we had a treat, we had a falafel lunch with soldiers. I didn't realize that when I offered you falafel, I should have remembered that, but maybe it was unconscious. So it was nice that these soldiers belonged to the artillery department, and they are in the Moshav, which is only 17 kilometers from the border, from Gaza, and their job is to send missiles to Gaza. They tell them where to shoot the missile, and they shoot the missiles. So it was fun. It was nice young kids. Now this is an example of a shelter. Many in apartments, buildings, you have a room that you designate as a shelter room. But when you live in a kibbutz, you have to run to a shelter. This is from the outside. Now you will see how wide it is. It's tiny. and this is the width, and the length is like twice that. It's just, and you all have to run quickly and stay there. And on the way, now then we drove to Ofakim, and on the way you see the flag, and we will win. I mean, it's just everywhere. So when we drove to Ofakim, was one of the hardest. No, it's not a city. It's like
it's a development
development town. Well, it's been there for many years. And when you walk in, it says Ir Shel Anashim. It's a city of people, and the one of their not such a good
socioeconomically.
It's not the social economic, but also one of the areas that was hardest hit was, they don't have much. But people were walking on the terrorists drove on the main street. It's like there's nothing like it's like driving to Westport on the post road, like before you even hit the houses, so maybe on the bridge to go to the main street. People walking on the side, they're going to synagogue. Terrorists shoot them. They shoot anybody they see. Then they turn into this area, and by that time the police people hear them, so they're trying to shoot them and to kill them, to stop them. And some they can, and some they can't. And when we walked into this, first thing we see that some artists started to help the citizen to express their feelings by creating a art piece. And I'll send it to you by email, the final art. But that's what each house that somebody was killed, there is a memorial sign and a candle. And you can, we actually said some prayer in front of one. Then we walked into a house, and this is the way it looks. And this is okay, because it's not okay because there's blood. We walked up to the second floor, and there's blood on the floor. It's bullets non-stop, and no mercy. So the woman on the right, if you remember, I told you about the girl with the green dress.
Yes.
This is her mother-in-law. That woman with the green dress is like, I think, 6 children. One of them is a baby who is 6 months. 1 month old. And she lives in New Oz, and she came to visit her mother-in-law in Ofakim for the weekend. For the Chag, it was Simchat Torah. She came for the weekend. And she came to her mother-in-law, and they hear shoots. They go into the house. They hear the terrorists coming to their door. Her brother-in-law said, go up to the second floor. So she goes with the kids, the mother-in-law, to the second floor. The brother-in-law said, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to hold off. Don't look. Don't worry about me. I'll be okay. So she goes to the second floor, and she hears the terrorists banging inside the house. She takes all the kids through this window. She puts them on the roof. They're all quiet for a few hours. We ask, how did the baby was quiet? She nursed him for a few hours. Then they were able to, I guess, to capture to do something with the terrorists. Somebody saved them. They had to move to the second. They had to move to the house next door, and there they were there for 14 hours till the army rescued them. Of course, sadly, the brother-in-law didn't survive. So it was incredible. By chance, we met this woman, her mother. She was there. We didn't plan to meet her because we heard the story before. And it was very touching because I read about it in the Israeli news, and it was incredible to see it there. And now I said, and she was outside the house. I said to her, why can't you go inside? She said, I can. The house, they threw a bomb into the house. So the house is black. They need to fix it. And she's living with some friends down the road. She won't leave Ofakim. She wants to stay there. Which is the resilience of the people there. They want to stay there. This is their home. This is, no matter what happened, they're going to rebuild it. So we went to see, and JDC created for them a center that they can come and talk about their problems and talk about their emotions. they have actors that are helping them act the artists will help them draw what they feel. And it's, it didn't exist, but this is for this community, to help the community to get strong. The last thing we had to do was to volunteer and pick up some broccoli and cauliflower. And Paula knew. I told Paula, I can't wait to do that. And guess what? Well, first of all, we come into this field and we see these humongous pumpkins. We're like, they said they grow pumpkins once a year. And I said, are they for the animals? No, they're actually good. They chop them up, and that's where they sell them to the supermarkets. And they keep them like that all year. It's just crazy. So we didn't get to, it was dark already because we heard the story. So we didn't get to pick up the broccoli. So I think I'll have to go back and to pick up the broccoli. And then again, leaving the country, you see the same pictures. It's like coming and going, and it's always in your heart. So I talked to a friend of mine, Batsheva, who is in Israel, visiting her child who has 3 kids. The last one was born like the last month. And I think the day she arrived, there were missiles in Tel Aviv. She said she already had to go to the shelter. And she sent me more installations. It's like there are no words. This isn't Kikar Dizengoff Square. And they did it for Hanukkah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is again Hanukkah. And this is bring them home. They're all trying the hardest to keep them in mind, to hopefully things will work out. And I just hope that this Hanukkah will bring more miracles. Now, the one thing I neglected a little bit to talk is about JDC, and they do an amazing job in Israel. And each one of you, I'm going to give you a paper that talks about the organization. And in Israel, they are divided into few divisions. One is called Ashalim. They deal with children in risk. Eshel deals with elderly. Tevet deals with economic development. Like they are the ones who created like this in Bnei Brak, they work with the Orthodox, try to elevate them from with the Arab societies. They work with them to try to create work for the women, the Bedouin women, so they can have something. They have Israel Unlimited, which is disabilities, and Elka, which works with big companies, how they work with the government. But because of the war, they pivoted, and the program that they've been working on, they changed them. So, like for example, Eshel, they know where all the elderly live, which hotel they're in, and they created programs in the hotels for them. The same thing as they created a school for the children, and they have lots of training because trauma is one of the biggest problems now in Israel. When I came back, I said the whole country is in trauma. It's not only who were living in the south and are refugees. I mean, there are 250,000 refugees leave their home. Can you imagine? Take your stuff, you have 2 hours to leave. What do? And then start in a new place. It's hard to imagine, even when you're there and you see it, and your heart is broken. So, if anybody has any questions. And thank you for letting me tell you my emotions, my feelings. You want to say anything?
You just did such a good job. We all feel unbroken, and we are so involved with Israel, and having you come and give us the experience that we all wish we could have. How we can to Israel anytime.
Well, I think one of the things that none of us realized, I certainly didn't, and I've been to Israel many times. The last time I was there was in August, when I went to one of the demonstrations to see what it was like, and you could feel like the ground was burning, like something had to give. But obviously nobody expected this. But nobody